Now, we understand that it's easier to do business in Nigeria now than it was, say, 12, 24 months ago. The World Bank has ranked Nigeria 131 out of 185 economies profiled in its latest Ease of Doing Business. It's also one of the African economies that have improved the most in doing business since 2011. A new report by the International Finance Corporation and the World Bank finds that of the 50 economies making the most improvement in business regulation for domestic firms since 2005, 17 are in sub-Saharan Africa. Here. But what are the reasons for this, should I say, perceived improvement? These and some more questions we're going to be putting to our panel this morning. And our panel is made up of a financial analyst, Mr. Odilim Enwegbara. Good morning.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
And Mr. Adewole Ojo, who is a communication consultant.
Good morning.
We are also expecting another financial analyst, Mr. Eris Iyeyen, whom we understand will join us in the course of the discussion. Now, let me begin with you, sir. Mr. Enwegbara, would you really say that Nigeria has improved in terms of doing business?
It's a difficult question to answer because when you say there have been improvement, you have to substantiate it by saying these are the improvements. Some of these so-called international organizations fabricate most of these things, especially if interests are involved. I'm not saying that because the Minister of Finance just came from the World Bank as the MD of one of the groups, they could try to do her that favor. But having said that, I think that I don't see the improvement. Where is the improvement? If there's improvement in doing business, it will translate to jobs. It will translate to GDP growth, and it will actually show that corruption is coming down. Other things that you have to expect. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it's high time we stopped taking all these types of grading seriously. Do you understand what I mean? You could understand that when China was growing, the Europeans and the Americans were just doing everything to suppress good information about China. So for me, I don't believe these are the figures we have to take seriously. What we have to do is to overhaul our economy just for our interest. And I believe that it will start with the budgeting. If you spend more on the current and spend less on capital, it's like you are spending your capital for today, which you would have invested for tomorrow, so that you have a higher return and grow the economy and employ more people. As far as I'm concerned, I don't read these figures. I'm telling you the truth. As far back 10 years ago when I was a student, and I came across most of these figures, and I disputed most of the figures in the United States. I said, you people just sit in your beautiful offices, come up with figures that you don't even know how you come up. You just assign countries figures. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just for the sake of assigning figures to countries. I think it's high time we stopped reading all those things and get to the point of solving our problems.
So your take now is that we should not give any credence to...
Of course. Because it's the credence we give to those figures that make them to continue coming up with those figures.
Okay. Now, when I read this, my thoughts immediately went to first, corruption, and two, power. Mr. Ojo, I'd like your thoughts. When you heard these figures released, what were your thoughts?
I will start by saying that we shouldn't dismiss such studies out of hand because they include other countries, about 185 countries, and then certain researches were done. I think for me the most important element in such reports is to situate where Nigeria is, what countries above Nigeria are doing well, what countries below Nigeria are not doing well. Avoid those things, those countries below Nigeria are not doing well, and try to emulate, copy. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Those countries above Nigeria, what they are doing well, let us do some of those things as they suit, our peculiarities.
Mr. Ojo?
Yes.
But do you think we're not doing well because we don't know what to do? I think we know what to do. We're just not doing those things.
Yes.
That's all. We know corruption is bad for investment in our country. We know that without power, our economy will not improve. I'm sure we know all those things.
Incidentally, corruption was one of the major elements of that study. Do we know what to do? I agree we know what to do. But where we are coming from as a country, there had been so much destruction of our institution. You cannot wave a magic wand and then everything will be fine all of a sudden. It is impossible. There have been improvements. Look at, the report was quite clear in the elements it measured. One of such improvements is getting credit. Another is protecting investors. Power. Nigeria performed woefully. Nigeria was 178. Now, there are reforms being implemented in the power sector. If those reforms bear fruit, say in 2-3 years' time, it's going to impact on the report, and Nigeria will move up considerably. Another element where Nigeria performed woefully was in registering property. Of course, we know how difficult it is to get to register your property in the country. Then paying taxes. And don't forget that the report was majorly based, the research was based in Lagos, not outside Lagos. The authors of that report, they actually admitted that if you go outside the city where the research was conducted, it is possible that it could be better, that doing business in some of these cities outside Lagos could be better, it could be worse, So I don't think we should dismiss such reports out of hand. Let us look at those countries that are doing well, that are above us. Let us copy some of the things they are doing well. Then those countries below us, let us avoid those things that are doing wrong. That's how I see that's what I see in that report.
Mr. Enwegbara,
Yes.
if indeed we have improved, how come we're not attracting investment? Our governors are still traveling abroad. I mean, remember during Obasanjo's time, he spent most of his first term out of the country wooing investors.
Yes.
That was the excuse that he gave for being
Yes.
away so long.
Yes.
We're not seeing any new investment in the country.
But why should we expect investors to come to this country? The type of investors we have are foreign portfolio investors who speculate on the capital market. And it's expected. Look, you cannot expect investors to come to a country with such a high infrastructural deficit, with such a high level of insecurity. You cannot expect investors to come to in a country where the borders are so open because we prematurely joined WTO in 1995. And what is the investor going to do? We are talking about foreign direct investors. That's the serious investors we are talking about. They can't come because the only ones that are coming are 419, I call them 419 investors, who are already ahead of the game than our leaders. So they come here, exploit us, those in the oil sector, those in the construction industry, but genuine investors cannot come to this country until we do certain things.
For now,
until we do certain things. I continue to say that. You see, the problem with economics, which I am one of them as they claim, is that we go and pick Western theories designed for Western interest and come here and they take those theories. In 1776, The Weight of Nation, written by Adam Smith, was written in order to protect British economy. And the Americans, by 1791, Alexander Hamilton, the first law America made as first secretary of Treasury, was to block importation of British-made goods. But it was started by even Britain in 1489 by Henry the Sixth. But the same thing was done by Germany in 1841. The same thing was done by Japan in 1868. And the countries continue blocking their border to protect small businesses. So that if you are investing, you see the result of your investment. They are competing only with
fellow compatriots.
Exactly. But when adult sophisticated companies come to Nigeria to dump goods in Nigeria, and they gain rebates from their countries, and they get interest rate at 0.9. In Nigeria, it is 17 for government, but it's now 25 for. How can you come and invest in such a country? Let's be realistic. This country is not yet ripe. And that's why I continue to emphasize that we have to really come together and design an economic agenda for Nigeria. First of all, let's exit WTO. If the military took out the WTO in 1995, must we be there? China in 1978, Deng immediately closed the borders and say if you want Chinese to take advantage of Chinese market, come and produce here. Every country has done except Nigeria. Do you know ShopRite is from South Africa? Goods from South African factories are entering ShopRite market, supermarkets in Nigeria. From dog food to anything you can talk about. Why should we invest in Nigeria? What are the competitive advantage? The power is expensive. You have to provide the road yourself. You have to provide water yourself. You have to provide security yourself. And then you borrow the money at 25%. By the time the compound, it becomes 30%. So let's be realistic. I think we're joking. We're joking with all these things.
When we look at all of this, it all points back to government.
Of course.
What is our government seemingly doing wrong?
Let me tell you. You see, I'm a friend of PDP in the sense that their chairman is like a father to me. And I continue to emphasize to Bamanga Tuko that the only way people can win the hearts and minds of Nigerians is to change the system. Nigerians are no longer blind as people think. There's no way a government should be on board and should not design budget that will suit Nigeria. Do you understand what I mean? This budget you see at 2013 budget is like IMF budgets in the late 80s and 90s with all the conditionalities. We must borrow. Look, I have said it. Nigeria has all the resources to fix its problems. We have 38 billion barrels of oil. Why not we use 2 billion or 10 billion barrels as collateral to borrow about $200 billion from the Chinese or any country and say, let's fix our power. Because we have to be serious. If we don't have the capital, we can use our collateral so that we fix the power, fix the road, and as soon as we do that, let me tell you, our GDP will quadruple within 3 years. Because you free the economy from unnecessary burden. And the entrepreneurs will start competing among themselves. Why can't we, when we're making budget, we say, within so and so period of time, there must be industrial parks in all the states. So that you reduce the basic infrastructure each individual has to put in place in order to set up factories. All these things are not taking place. Our leaders are just like, every day they design a budget that benefits them and we tell us, wait, we are going to develop. We postpone development, but no country develops with their sacrifice.
Would you then say that there is no will from this government and previous governments
of course,
to develop Nigeria?
Of course, but it's not even their fault. Let me tell you why I say it's not even their fault. We're all prisoners of Western conspiracy. People might tell me, Basil, but because I'm a student of conspiracy, because I got into a level of economics, to understand economics, forget about this theory. All of us have known the theories. Why can't we develop? Because it's a systematic conspiracy to make sure that Nigeria doesn't develop. Let me tell you why.
Who is making? Coming up with the conspiracy?
Let me tell you, when Nigeria stood in favor of South Africa, London and Washington stood up and said, Nigeria must be submerged to teach it a lesson, and we will never stand up to become a great African giant.
Where did you hear that from?
My friend, I think we have to leave this place and we'll go and read a lot of books.
No,
Excuse me.
I think we should focus on that report,
yes,
and what it means to Nigeria before.
The report. What is the report? The report is what some people frame together and they give to. I think these people understood. As I said earlier, that the report is a nonsense. I'm sorry if I excuse me. If I use that word, you know why I use the word is that we are not serious. When China in 1978 Deng came and saw where China was drifting and said enough is enough. We have to come to a point and say enough is enough and start solving our problems. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whether somebody is criticizing or somebody is saying we're doing it right or wrong, it is up to us to decide whether we're focused and whether we're moving in that direction.
Okay, one quick question, Mr. Enwegbara.
Yes.
Would you say that there is obviously an improvement in doing business in Nigeria, ease of doing business in Nigeria? Would you say there's an improvement?
No.
There's no improvement?
Yes.
So it means that those who have compiled this report over the years, they have erred in saying that there is a minimal, because it's between 130 and 132, and 131 and 133. It's only a 2-point improvement. And if you look at the way they have worked this particular report, you will see that there is a serious breakdown in including procedure, including number of days it takes to establish a company, number of days that it takes to do specifics. And if one studies it, there are areas that we have gone worse, and there are areas that there is a minimal improvement.
You see, if I say this, don't think I'm arrogant. I don't want to be arrogant. I love this country more than I love myself. I wish I could be alive to see a great Nigeria before I die. I'll be the happiest man wherever I am to be happy. You see, the problem with we Africans is that we believe that somebody has good intention with whatever he does. Look, without bragging, I was a student at MIT when most of these things, they are brought it for us to review and even for us to put some figures. Some of them don't even know some of these African countries. They ask you, what do you think? Put a figure. And I will tell you, I put some figures for African countries I never knew when I was a student at MIT. You understand what I'm saying? So I think my belief is this, that you cannot tell me with the level of insecurity in this country, that as of 3 years ago, if the insecurity was not high, I would have said, okay, there have been improvement. But with the level of insecurity, everybody is standing outside, watching. It is that level of insecurity we have to deal with. Then we deal with power because there's no way you use lantern and the candle to drive an economy. Just like you have a big truck, and instead of using diesel, you go and use gas. You understand what I mean? It can't move it. So these are the things that preoccupy me. It's not when a figure says we have improved 1% or 2%. For me, it doesn't make sense to me, and I don't give attention to those things.
Does it matter to you that we're still in one of the very lowest in sub-Saharan Africa? Because when you look at 185 countries that they have done this survey on, and Nigeria, the so-called giant of
yes.
Africa, we're 131.
Yes.
It doesn't
That's a
give us any
perception
joy.
problem. That's this perception problem. Nigeria is always meant to look negative in it. Most of everything.
Made to
of
look.
course, Nigeria
But
is
you
meant to
just
look
said
negative.
that we are not good.
No,
So
but I'm
what's
saying
the
that
point of making us
wait.
look-
You didn't understand my argument. My argument
Yes.
is, first of all, we ignore everything, because those coming up with this thing have perception problem. They have already made up their mind where they have to picture Nigeria from time to time. So that's what I'm trying to say. Even if they come up with, there's no way they can measure Nigeria good, because as soon as they measure Nigeria high, it means that Nigeria will be perceived as a
Well, you
as
just
a
said we're no good.
no, but yes,